So we're joined by these incredible thought leaders and change makers that have led major companies in women's health and are advocates and role models to us. We're truly grateful to have them here tonight. And without further ado, I would like to introduce them to you. We welcome Dr. Silvia Mah, a prolific angel investor, a published author, managing partner at Stella Impact Capital and at Astra Ventures. We also welcome LaShanda Dandridge, a renowned IBCLC and trained doula with over 7 years of experience providing lactation support and the founder of the Lactation Learning Collective, among many other organizations we'll mention later. And Forney, the founder of The Bump, a published author and an advisor to many startup companies in women's health, including Lilu. Before we hear from the panelists, we want to tell you a bit more about Lilu. So we'll start with a short pitch on Lilu, and then we'll open up a Q&A directed to our panelists. So at Lilu, we build tech-enabled products to improve women's health through various stages of life. Before we dive in, I'd like to tell you a little bit about ourselves.
I'm Sujay. I hail from India, and my background is in electrical engineering. I did my master's from the University of Pennsylvania.
And I'm Adriana. I come from Mexico, and my background is in maths with computer science with a degree from MIT. I did my master's in product design at UPenn, which is where I met Sujay, and where we found a mutual interest in applying technology to improve the lives of women. So we went from being lab partners to co-founding Lilu. The benefits of breastfeeding have been thoroughly researched and documented. Successful breastfeeding is critical for both babies and the mom's well-being. But in reality, breastfeeding is really hard. When we saw friends and colleagues struggle to make breastfeeding work, we set out to understand why in the 21st century, something as important and ubiquitous as breastfeeding is so challenging. After speaking with hundreds of moms and lactation experts, we were appalled to see how outdated technology often was. Over 75% of moms stop exclusively breastfeeding within the first 6 months, many times due to the inefficacies of their breastfeeding technology. These rates are also well below the World Health Organization recommendation, which have recently been increased to breastfeed for 2 full years. These stats are staggering, but unsurprising when we see how moms pump today. As you can see, moms have to deal with bottles, tubes, cables. Moms are also eternally multitasking, be it because they're busy at home, they're busy at work, and because they have to do this multiple times a day, it often results in a painful, stressful, and experience that makes moms miserable. As technologists, product designers, and potentially future parents ourselves, we knew that technology could be better, and it was not acceptable to us. That's why at Lilu, we're leveraging our technical expertise in robotics and IoT to build a platform of products that make breastfeeding more comfortable, efficient, and pain-free. We're achieving this with 2 complementary product lines that address the physical, mental, and emotional challenges that come with breastfeeding. First, we have the Omni Breast Pump, a wearable breast pump with our patented massage technology. And second, the MilkSense Smart Bra and app that provides data analytics and insights on breastfeeding and health. Omni is the ultimate wearable breast pump, integrated with our patented breast massage technology that helps moms pump 50% more milk. During our research with moms and lactation experts, we discovered that breast massage, while pumping, can help moms get more milk, alleviate pain and discomfort, which is why we developed our core massage technology that uses soft robotics to mimic expert recommended motions. We've validated this through our beta product, the Lilu Massager and Bra. We achieved some key milestones with this beta. Over 2,500 moms pumped with the bra, and we generated over $235,000 in revenue. We validated that the technology works through our rigorous pilots, both with the massage bra and with smaller versions of it that paved the way for Omni. And we've shown over and over that moms pump 55% more milk every session with the Lilu massage, and sometimes as much as 2 or 3 times more than without any massage. Additionally, we have 2 granted utility patents in the US and China, with a few more patents pending. We've established a robust supply chain, we've developed strong partnerships with distributors, and most importantly, we have built a network of over 300 lactation experts and influencers who know and trust Lilu. Our technology is already making a real difference for so many moms. Moms were able to feed their premature babies, relactate. We have dozens of moms who were able to use it to get rid of recurring clogged ducts and mastitis. And moms who wouldn't otherwise respond to pumps were able to pump enough milk.
With our massage technology, we're solving real problems around physical pain with pumping. But solving for physical pain alone is simply not enough. Lactation is also very closely tied to maternal mental health. That's why, with support from the National Science Foundation, we've developed the MilkSense Smart Bra and app to enhance the Omni pump and unlock a wealth of data around breast milk production that is currently not being captured. Our goal with the MilkSense Smart Bra and app is to take away the anxiety and frustration that moms have that stems from the uncertainty around their baby's feeding patterns. We will use the lactation data that we collect from the bra and the app to create models using machine learning and AI and provide moms with actionable insights about their lactation and well-being and enable hyper-personalized care. We're excited to share that the MilkSense app has already launched in beta, and you can visit our website at wearlilu.com to learn more. Here's how we're reaching moms. Firstly, direct to consumers through our website at wearlilu.com, driven by referral from our strong lactation community. Then we will grow via medical and wholesale channels through durable medical equipment providers facilitated by insurance reimbursement. With our digital platform, we will acquire new customers through a freemium subscription model and offer value-added services. Our go-to-market strategy is built on a strong foundation, having already developed key relationships with distributors with our beta. We couldn't be doing any of this without the support from our super talented, diverse team who bring experience in engineering, operations, and business development, including moms who went from being our early customers to now integral part of the team. Ragini has previously worked at a leading pump company. Jesse has previously launched a smart luggage company. And Leanne, who is the founder of Milkstat, which is a lactation supplement brand on its own. We also want to give a special shout out to Jennifer and Steven, who are helping us with the development of the smart bra and the milk tracking algorithm, and also our amazing interns who work really hard to help us achieve success. And we're backed by a stellar advisory board who bring a wealth of knowledge and expertise spanning health, development, manufacturing, and strategy, which includes some prominent names like Dr. Diane Spatz, a world-renowned lactation expert from the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, and Forney, who founded and successfully exited the BUM, whom we'll hear from later today. And we have the vote of confidence from leading VCs, including SOSV, Latitude Ventures, Y Combinator, Ad Astra Ventures, Angels, and organizations like the National Science Foundation. With our comprehensive product line and an omni-channel strategy, we're well poised for growth. We expect to achieve over 100 million in revenue within 5 years. Lilu will be the go-to brand for postpartum care by 2027. We have achieved some key milestones and de-risked our technology with only $1.3 million raised today. We're currently raising a seed round of $1.25 million to launch our Omni and MilkSense product lines and hire for key roles on the team. We recently launched our Wefunder campaign because we recognized that we wouldn't be here without the support of our amazing community of friends, family, mentors, investors, and most importantly, new moms. We want you all to benefit from our wins, and Wefunder enables that. You can invest as little as $100 on our campaign and become a shareholder in Lilu. Another quick note, we have an incredible matching opportunity from the National Science Foundation. They will match 50% of all proceeds we raise on Wefunder, so your investment is truly multiplied. To sum it all, we have a proven technology, an exciting product pipeline, and the all-star team needed to grow Lilu to great heights. With your support, we will be even better equipped to continue on our mission to make a real difference to the lives of millions of new moms. I hope you guys found that informative. And with that, I want to introduce our first guest. Tara, we're so glad to have you join us today.
Well, thanks for having me here. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. Tell us a little bit about your journey as a founder of The Bump. We know that it's a pioneer in breastfeeding and maternal health, so we would love to hear a little bit about your journey.
Yes, well, it had humble beginnings. Like anything else, like many entrepreneurs, it was a need that I had when I was a new mom and actually expecting. Back in the day, there were not a lot of aggregators of information around pregnancy, maternity, and new motherhood. You had to go to a lot of different places. So you could get kind of health information one place, you could get maybe recommendations on, maternity clothes and where to register, things like that, in separate places. And none of it told me where to go locally if I wanted to find something where I lived, which was Phoenix, Arizona. So initially we started with print magazines that we did through OBGYN offices. And so we built that around multiple media outlets and multiple cities. And then once we took it national, we made it much more of an online play. So thebump.com. And we grew that for about almost 5 years. And that's when we connected with The Knot, and The Knot acquired us. And along with that package, I went along with the not to help the bump integrate and grow and be successfully absorbed into that company. And once that was done, I exited and have been working with founders and companies in the space ever since.
Thanks for sharing that. I think it's an amazing journey. Again, as Sujay mentioned, it's like was really groundbreaking for how new moms informed themselves and felt accompanied throughout their pregnancy. And, to see the impact that it's had today, it's really incredible. I know that through you, like us and other companies that you have advised, we're able to leverage a lot of the knowledge that you acquired throughout the period. And we thank you for that. So we want to ask you, as you sit on different advisory boards, you're a mentor to different startup founders. How do you pick which startups to work with? And if you can tell us a little bit about, why did you decide to join Lilu's advisory board in 2020?
Sure, absolutely. So, it was all pretty organic to kind of go from, heading up, being a founder and CEO through the different relationships, obviously, in organizations and companies I worked with in the space. Then I began working with a lot of them just on my own afterwards. And I worked with companies that were in all stages. So growth stage, mature stage, and founders. But I found myself, or startups, and I found myself leaning much more into my startup clients and partners because I just enjoyed it so much more. And it was just such a more rewarding space for me to be in. And so I really exclusively started working with just founders in the startup stage. And, what I look for is, no different from anyone else. It's really obviously the idea, the product market fit, et cetera. But that, that's really what everyone needs to have just to even come to the table, right? A great idea, something that works. The idea you all had and the product that you all had obviously was something that I had experience with, the issue that it solved, and I had experienced myself. And so I knew the kind of anxiety and stress and pain that goes along with breastfeeding, and always understood it didn't have to be that way. And so to see a technology applied to that solution, the way you guys did it, was really novel. Unfortunately, it was very novel. This is a space that has not been too innovative and to date. And so the idea that you guys had something and were developing something that isn't out there yet and is such a, is such a great fit for new moms and is something very unique was really compelling. The key thing for me was whenever I look for a company to work with are the founders. Adriana and Sujay, you guys were absolutely the kind of founders that I love to work with. Just your drive, your vision, your energy, your excitement, your passion about your company and what you're doing. The overall mission was amazing. And then also just your relationship. So for me, when I'm going to be working with two people or co-founders, it's extremely important to know that you have a very healthy working relationship. And obviously that was very clear off the bat. So you were two people that I really wanted to work with. And so I jumped on board and here we are 4 years later, and I'm thrilled to be a part of it.
Yeah. Speaking of all your adventure that you've had with us in the last 4 years, I know one of the things that we worked on together was that you were one of our advisors during the NSF iCore program that Lilu went through for the Smart Bra. We would love to hear a little bit about your journey going back to being almost the founder, where we went through user interviews, and tell us a little bit about your experience there.
Yeah, I thought that was a fantastic experience. I almost felt like I went back to MBA school a little bit as well. I think it's fantastic. I think the whole program was amazing. I didn't really know what to expect. And I was really impressed with the instructors and the content and everything that all of us do. It was a lot of work. And I was really impressed with how, everybody, you two included, took this on. This was almost another full-time job, this program, on top of running a company and growing a company. So I thought the exercises were all really on point and really helped you guys and us really crystallize kind of mission and vision and where the company was going and where you wanted the company to be in 5 years and all of those sort of really very, very important things to nail down that sometimes can get lost as you're trying to do the day-to-day to grow and start, a company. So it was very rewarding.
Yeah, we felt the same, but thanks. And we know it was a lot of work. So
yeah.
So thanks again, Kara. Really, your trust in Lilu is incredibly meaningful to us, as you know. Our next guest today is LaShanda Dandridge. Hi, LaShanda. Thank you so much as well for joining us tonight. As we mentioned, LaShanda doesn't only work, and has had a direct impact with hundreds, if not probably thousands of moms, but she also works to educate other lactation specialists. So really the work she does has a snowball effect throughout the internal maternal health ecosystem in the US. So LaShanda, please tell us a bit about your journey as an IBCLC and a serial entrepreneur in lactation.
Hi everyone. Like Adriana said, my name is LaShanda Dandridge. I'm here in New York. I have to update you on my bio. I'm actually almost 10 years in now, so it's been quite a while. So my journey to lactation, I always say, I think most of the IBCLCs that you'll meet in the field. I won't want to speak for everyone, but I became a mom and went through a breastfeeding journey. And unfortunately, I have to say that, fortunately, I loved my journey and had a really good journey. And that led me to wanting to help support other lactating people to love their journey too, because what I learned is that it is super hard and unfortunately, there's not a lot of support out there. So that spurred me to become this lactation journey, found out about IBCLC, became an IBCLC. As you mentioned, it became very much a passion of mine to help build the profession and create more IBCLCs, especially IBCLCs of color. So I've been working just like parenting, I would say. There's so many aspects, right? It's not linear. It's like, blah, blah, blah. So just as your breastfeeding journey is going to be like that. So it's like, all the aspects, there's so many touch points in like helping parents have their success, right? Because everyone defines their success differently. So
yeah, that's amazing, and that also feeds me very much into the next question. Speaking of the evolution that you've seen, like how have you seen the lactation world evolve specifically with IBCLCs, but also just in general, and also what, in your opinion, is still missing in this industry?
What's missing again is the diversity and really just accessibility. Unfortunately, the IBCLC is a certification, it's not licensed. And so when you get into like the nitty-gritty and like insurance, as it stands in America today, like insurances have licensed individuals on their panel. So when you as a consumer like go and you have a baby and you're looking for, or you as a consumer of insurance, if you need an ENT or this, you're able to go to your directory and find that. Not all insurances you would find a lactation consultant. So that still needs to be supported. If you're out there listening in different states and different countries, so here in New York, we're going for licensure because that'll open up way more avenues and access to many more individuals. Mainly a big one for me are Medicaid patients, right? That don't have access, that can't afford. And so on the flip side of that, as a professional, it's hard to maintain a living wage if you're working with strictly Medicaid patients. So it's like I said, it's a lot of different aspects and things to look into. So that still needs evolving and that's lacking. How it has evolved is that just naturally as a professional, when you're working as a perinatal professional, when you're working with parents, again, there's so many aspects that if you've heard of doulas, hopefully you've heard of doulas, that we have a lot more doulas and doulas helping getting lactation training. As Adriana said, not only do I train other people to become IBCLCs, but I do the lactation training for doula trainings, because sometimes those are the first people that are in the homes and are talking to the parents. So if I can, give them knowledge to help support their clients until they get to me, or if that's all the support that they happen to have, right? So having, as many people know and can support lactation in all aspects. I think here in the US, a big one that we saw, which is finally AAP, like as Adriana mentioned, that, you know, they're recommending 2 years, right? And that is getting out there and that's promoted. We've known that as a biological norm in our world forever. But the fact that we now have this government agency that is, you know, backing it and helping that. So the more you talk about it, right, and the more that people hear that, then it just, you know, helps all of the profession, all the touch points.
So LaShanda, how can the people in the audience help some of the important initiatives that you're involved in, including the Lactation Learning Collective and Chocolate Milk Cafe?
So Chocolate Milk Cafe, we are, as I mentioned, like diversifying the field. And so again, we are here in America, and I know I think I saw Canada somewhere. So like, but in these, what do you call that? Like Western parts of the world and such, just like anywhere in all the systems, right? The medical industrial system, there are disparities. And one of the disparities is that Black individuals who identify as Black or Indigenous, they don't get as much support for their lactation journeys. So Chocolate Milk Cafe is a peer support group because not in lactation, you don't always need the IBCLC, right? There's tons and tons of studies out there that show that peer support is valid and, you know, very helpful. So again, that's a touch point that we can create a chapter and have, you know, in these communities and getting the support. Absolutely. So we are a nonprofit, and just like any nonprofit, we need funds to you know, keep going. So that's always helpful. But again, just word of mouth and connecting people. If you know you're a lactation professional and you identify someone as, you know, part of this group, and there are groups out there for XYZ, whatever, you know, somebody identifies as, like, you should be directing them there and supporting that, because that can help further their journey, whatever their journey is going to be, right? Yeah. And the same for Lactation Learning Collective. We came about because, as I mentioned, the road to becoming an IBCLC can be difficult in finding mentors. So we became mentors, and part of that road is funds, like paying people to mentor, which again can be a barrier for some people. As I mentioned, it's a certification. It's not like you can go to a college and get this, so you get a scholarship and such. So people are usually paying out of pocket. So we, you know, reduce our services a little bit so we can meet people where they are and help, you know, further them in their journey. Because, you know, our mission is just overall, we want to help the community and help more families get human milk into their babies.
Yeah, certainly. And that's something that we've seen throughout our years working in the industry. I think that it's you know, hopefully the responsibility, right? There needs to be not only technology and innovation, but all of these things have to move in parallel so that we can get more moms, more parents to breastfeed for those 2 years, right? That is the ideal standard. So LaShanda, I think as you know, right, like we've learned a lot from you about like the importance and role that companies like Lilu can play in advocating for more support for moms breastfeeding, definitely, you know, for moms of color, for educators. And I think, you know, as you know, and you've given us a lot of guidance also just in the kind of health aspects, clinical aspects, and all of those other aspects when we develop our technology. So we would love if you could share a couple words about what excites you about Lilu's mission and our future.
So I feel lucky to have met you and have reached out, like you all reached out and continue to reach out and keep me like in the loop. And as you all know, Sujay and Adriana know, like you send me an email and like it'll be weeks. And it's not anything personal. It's just that there are so many boxes open if I've shared my screen right now, right? So but just like connecting and just seeing your growth, and what makes me want to stay connected to you all and watch you grow and contribute in any way that I can is that, like I said, I feel lucky to know you and be on the ground floor. But again, the initial reach out was that you actually reached out for lactation guidance from an IBCLC, right? It wasn't this business thing. Like, you know, they say like, you know, if you want to know a company, you got to really look at who's sitting around that table, and you always choose to include the people that you include around that table. Really shows that your mission is that you're really wanting to support families. right? You're really wanting to support people in getting milk to their children. So that's really what, like, keeps me connected to you all, and, rooting for you all and wanting you to grow, because in the lactation world, yes, like there are again, we're in America, there are tons of stuff that people are throwing on. You can go on and Google and buy. And unfortunately, you have people who are, even IBCLCs will just refer anything, but I try and refer what I feel is actually valid and poignant to that person's journey, right? It's not like a across the board thing. It's like, really, I try and curate my stuff for the families, right? It's not just a one size fits all thing. So it's like when I'm recommending something, I feel confident that that product that I'm recommending is actually doing something for that family, whether it's the actual physical, right? Or, as you now mentioned, the mental, because we know it is, I say like 5% of what I do is latch, and 95% is really the mental work of getting milk to your baby.
No, we see that. And thank you again so much, LaShanda, for affording your deep expertise in lactation, but also for always holding us accountable to innovate for all moms. We know that's a discussion that we constantly have, especially given that Lilu builds innovative tech products. So focusing on how we're going to make them accessible to everyone is very important. And you're always very deliberate about inclusivity. And we really appreciate that. Yeah. So our next guest is Dr. Silvia Mah. In addition to being our investor through Adastra Ventures, Silvia is also our lead investor in our Wefunder campaign. Dr. Silvia Mah is a founding partner of Adastra Ventures that aims to get to even for high-achieving women. Focused on impact with integrity, Silvia is the founder and chairwoman of Stella Labs, an accelerator for women-owned businesses, a founding member of Stella Angels, which is a female angel investment group, and investment committee member of Next Wave Impact, a social impact venture fund, and an angel investor to over 120 startups who have diverse founders on their leadership team. That's among many other things that Silvia does, by the way. Could you tell us a little bit about your journey and your why?
Yeah, thank you, Adriana. Well, you and Sujay are my why. Done. That's awesome. So that's an easy one. Let's go on. No, just kidding. So thank you for such a great introduction. Your pitch was awesome. I loved hearing these other lovely ladies that spoke so highly of you, your technology, and your leadership. So well done already. My background is I do have my PhD in marine biology, but the technical pieces of it was biochemistry and molecular biology. So I worked on proteins, DNA, I did crystallography, I did a lot of like really basic science. Loved it, loved being in the lab. But when my lactation journey, I loved hearing everybody else's lactation journey. I have 3 children, breastfed them all 2 years each. One was a preemie. My first 2 were actually during my PhD program. So I had my little Nalgene bottle, like kind of like a huge Nalgene bottle in the fridge in my lab with breast milk. So that was like eons ago, but one was premature and one was special needs. But I still kept on going. My special needs one only ate real foods like at 3 years old. So really important for me to breastfeed him, and my daughter was 2 years. So with that, I say that preempting my journey is that when I finished my PhD, I had a special needs son who needed to stay at Children's like 4 days a week. I had to make that decision, as a lot of us do, that do I do full-on career, or do I have to stay in San Diego and take care of my child and make sure that he gets all the early intervention that he needs? And I said, I will stay here. Let's see how I cobble together my career. I can't do 4,000 postdocs and make nothing with 2 babies, basically. So I was very blessed that the School of Engineering actually was looking for a PhD. Whatever PhD they wanted, I said, I will take it, right? So, and I was new to San Diego. I'm actually an immigrant from Venezuela. Doesn't look like it, but I'm Latina. So I really loved San Diego. I loved the culture here. I wanted to stay here, take care of my child, and then really was embraced by the engineering department. And when I was there, I became the director of Teams and Engineering Service. So I really worked with engineering students as undergrads and master's students to work with not-for-profits to solve problems in this world. So with that, I really had this like crash course on commercialization, on social innovation, on innovation in general, and pushing it towards market. And then I started working at a commercialization center at a university. So did a couple of years of that commercialization of really dense innovation from faculty, postdocs, grad students, undergrads. So I love engineering. I understand the sciences. Then I said, you know what, I really need to learn a little bit more about business. I don't know it at all, and went to get my MBA. So I'm like, okay, I know that I need to sit still and somebody needs to teach me. That's how I learn. So I got to my MBA. And at that time, I was either going to go back and take over my dad's business at the time because he was failing in his health. I was either going to biotech, like say, okay, I have my 3 children now. I can now like dedicate my career to something. Well, I already did, but I thought it was something else, or start a company. So I started about 3 companies during my MBA. They all flopped because, you're trying to get any ideas. But during that time, my father passed away, and he was an entrepreneur himself. And we did not know the amount of money he amassed as an entrepreneur. And I became an investor overnight because of an inheritance. But I knew commercialization, I knew startups really well, and I knew after pitching 3 or 4 times that I was not being recognized. I'm not going to get the funding because only 2% of funding goes to women. So, wow, I know I was going to work until the day I die, but I can activate my capital for good. And that's when I became an angel investor about 12 years ago.
That's an incredible journey. And
wow, yeah.
So much. We both admire you greatly. And I think we mentioned the word before, the snowball effect. I think like this is what you're doing really does have a snowball effect in the industry and for female founders. Sujay, I know you had another question.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you spoke a little bit about your own journey as an investor, how you became an angel investor. And again, thank you so much for sharing that. But we also know that you're such a champion for others who want to become angel investors as well. You've helped so many other angels write their first checks in startup companies. What would you say to people who want to back companies like us, but don't know where to start?
Yes, my story was told also to say, look, I know this innovation. That's why I love Adriana and Sujay, because innovation is what's that engine that makes sure that the startup is incredible, has a very good competitive advantage, and has founders like Sujay and Adriana. I also say that because that is something that we talk about all the time to investors. They're like, how do I do this? I'm like, well, do you see a great competitive advantage of this innovation that you might understand or might not understand? And then like you understand people because you've probably done something in your life. So you heard my story. You probably would say, oh, wow, she can do this. She can do this. She has a strength here. She has a strength here. She understands these things. But to translate all of that, like I thought I was just a scientist turned like MBA and kind of crazy, right? But when I went into the investment world, I'm like, wow, all those things that I thought was like a lasagna of my career, that can really allow me to be a very, very good investor to make great decisions. I didn't even know that. I was like, wow, that is my strength. I needed to learn the ins and outs of how to write a check, what it means to like the frameworks, because I'm like, okay, how do I do that? I dove in, right? If somebody else was an investor, I'm like, how can I learn from you? Can I have a cup of coffee? A cafecito is beautiful. Like you can have great conversations with them and you learn, and then you take a course here, you take a course there. But I want to tell the people on the line, if they are, kind of aspiring investors, you have a lot in your arsenal of being either the professional or a lactation specialist, that people and how the body works. Well, when somebody comes and talks to you about a body company or like something about people, you're like, I already know this. I can evaluate that. You need people around you to help you evaluate a little bit more, but it's a great way to start. So that's like that curiosity comes, you have that strength, and then you build people around you to understand, how do I do that investment? And that's where we come in to help you out.
I love that.
Thank you so much for sharing that.
Very, very tactical as well. Yeah, I think that's always showing how we can leverage our community, right? To boost our own knowledge in any one area we want. So yeah, we're super honored to have you as our lead investor. I guess you've already mentioned it, but what in particular made you want to kind of continue to invest in Lilu?
Yeah. And I'm also a director of innovation at a university. So I'm an academic as well. So I need to teach a little bit right now, a little bit. So one of the things is that when you try to evaluate a startup and you're like, okay, will I invest in this person? You might invest once, right? You're like, okay, I'm going to write a check. You're going to be like, okay, I'm going to write this check. It's my check, my hard earned money. And it's a little scary. But when you know that company makes great decisions, they have proven to you over and over and over again they can set goals and they reach those milestones, and they bring people like LaShanda and Kara on board. They actually are convinced to be part of this founding team. That takes a lot. A lot of people can't do that. Then you see other things that are happening. You're like, I can invest another time. They're doing great, but they need that little bit more of capital, and I can write a second check. That's when you know they've done all of these things: traction, team building, growing revenue, all those things are non-dilutive capital. You're like, I'm going to put a little bit more in, but they have to do all those things before you are like, okay, you're ready to write that second check or that third check. For me, I wrote the first check. We have Ad Astra, which is a 3-person VC fund, Allison Longpatine, Vidya Dum and Dinamani and myself. And we kind of convinced each other. Well, I convinced them sort of, you know what I mean? I'm a little Latina. You're like, hello, come on in. Let's talk about this. But no, they had to evaluate it as well. They had to evaluate Lilu. They evaluated, and we all came in. So it was not just me investing in this company. And now it's like, okay, this community round is super important for Lilu, right? Because it's like, we all know that there's so many women who are lactating. Sujay, you said it at the very beginning. It's like there's a lot of women that want to back you. So let's get them on this platform that is a community play so that other people can have a piece of Lilu, right? And that's so important. And then these investors that are starting off and they're like, I don't even know what investing is. If they invest $100, they understand, how do I evaluate a company like Lilu? I'm going to invest because it's a small amount of money. I'm going to test the waters. I'm going to learn what it means to set a goal and milestones and traction and all the things that I just talked about. And it just becomes a very easy way to invest. And that's why I came in as a lead investor, because I've done so many Wefunder campaigns exactly for the same reason: community, great innovation. You communicate the innovation very easily. It's very complicated, people. They did a very good job on their pitch, right? Because you understand it, I bet, right? And it's very complicated. They do a very good job at this. So that's why this Wefunder campaign is super important. The other part, and I'm just going to put on my advocacy hat on, is that it democratizes the investment world, right? So for women, only 25% of angel investors are women, and 2% about there of VCs are women. And lo and behold, what's the amount of percentage that women get on the opposite side? Entrepreneurs only get 2% of VC funding, and about 25% of angel round money goes to women. That's a direct correlation, people. As a scientist, I can tell you that that's that way. So Wefunder and an equity crowdfunding campaign like the one that Lilu's on democratizes this investment landscape that has been dominated by other individuals. And now it will be dominated by the people that really want to invest in great innovations and great founders like Lilu and Adriana and Sujay.
We believe that it truly resonates. We're already seeing it make a difference. And yeah, we want to thank you all so much for joining us today.
I think we did have a question in the chat for LaShanda. I want to make sure.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I was saving it until the end. I didn't want to type. I knew we were going to have the Q&A at the end. But I think it's Leanne. Hopefully I'm saying your name.
Yeah, I think it was Leanne, and it was around the AAP recommendation for 2+ years of breastfeeding. And the question is, I'm curious if the AAP recommendation of 2+ years of breastfeeding have actually converted into better breastfeeding rates in the past few months.
So we won't know that. I think the way it works with like research and they're documenting stuff, it takes like sometimes, and someone who, Silvia, who's probably more versed in research than I am, can verify this. I feel like it's like 10 years or something before we actually know like what the result of like, implementing something into. Just, anecdotally on like, just my N of one, like going around the city and like talking to people. So I always say like, it's we the breastfeeding term is like an umbrella term, like, but really much like Silvia's kind of journey, right? You wanted to get that human milk, right, to your children, because sometimes we know babies are not going to be, straight from the tap, right? There are many reasons, hence why we're here. And there's the Lilu, right? So I think, again, just having the conversation and having the knowledge and now having these bigger organizations talk about it instead of us little lactation consultants going like, wow, 2 years, but, so now that the, CDC and AAP are talking about it, you do have, that's like for the moms, it's like, oh, they want, like, their goal may have been like 3 to 6 months. And now it's like, oh, I want to do this. So again, we live in, Western society, so there is going to be bottles and pumping involved. So yeah, the umbrella term of breastfeeding, I always try to get moms and parents away from. It doesn't just mean at the top. When you go back to work, you need a good pump that's going to help continue the milk, because the milk is what, is the overall arching thing that we're really looking to get into our little ones.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
So
we have one more question for Silvia. What advice would you give for someone who's just getting into angel investing?
Yeah, I'll keep it short. And also, I think the next question is really great. So I want to get to that too. So the biggest thing about getting into angel investing is, I always say, like, don't invest on your first impulse, right? Learn. And one perfect way to learn is actually through Wefunder that Sujay and Adriana is on. Go on their platform, go on their profile, click it right there, and like check it out. See what it looks like, see what a video is like, the information is like, and see like 100 of those, right? That curiosity is super important for any investor. And then secondly is find an angel group or an angel buddy or cafecito buddy, right? That you can go out with to kind of have those conversations, especially for women and women of color, is that, and LGBTQ, is that we never had those conversations. Own it. Like, we haven't. And it's not that you are like, you should have had those conversations, you didn't. So find another person that you can just have just a conversation about, and that will help you elevate your thought process about wealth creation. That's another whole portion of angel investing. And thirdly, just get a lot of education, right? So there's a lot of YouTube things. There's a lot of information. Angel Capital Association, I'm on the board. They have lots of education. Just start absorbing. Because even for me, 12 years later, I'm learning still all about angel investing in VC, even though I've been part of like 12 funds and all of that. I'm a fund manager. I'm still learning, right? Because every single investment is so different. So that's really great. I did publish a book about investing. So that's also available at Amazon.com. So it is the Startup Investor Mindset. And I just walk you through it as if you're having a cup of coffee with me. That's what people have told me about the book. So I want Sujay and Adriana to go to the next question.
Absolutely. And we'll drop the link to your book in the chat right now as well, so
Thank
people can go have a look. And also Kara's book too. Shout out to Kara as well.
It's so good.
So the next question in the chat for us is, are Lilu products covered by insurance? I can take that. So breast pumps are mandated to be covered by insurance companies. So the Omni breast pump will be, at least partially to begin with, covered by insurance. Our goal would be to get it fully covered by insurance. The MilkSense Smart Bra and app, we position them as breastfeeding accessories. So they should be covered by FSA and HSA spend accounts. Our goal would be to work towards getting those covered by insurance as well, specifically through clinical trials, also specifically for special use cases like preventing mastitis and clogged ducts.
Again, thanks everyone so much for joining tonight. Sujay, I think maybe also let's drop our emails here so that if there's any other future questions, people know where to reach us. Again, we may sound like broken records, but we're not embarrassed by it because we're so eternally grateful to the panelists here, to many of also the people who joined, their names that we recognize, some that we know have also already invested in the Wefunder campaign. To those who didn't already know us, we hope you stay in touch and that you enjoyed the session.